Good morning and welcome to the deep dive with Keeping Current Matters. It is Monday, June 27th. My name is Kate Rezabek, and we are going to be talking about all the latest in the housing market today. And we're going to focus in today on inventory. So I think you're going to love the latest update on what's happening with inventory, where is it projected to head, and what does this mean for your buyers? If you are new this morning and are looking for the slides that we're sharing today, they are all yours. You're going to be able to download those at trykcm.com. And of course, if you're a KCM member, you can always go to the KCM member area to download the slides, share them with your network. I think we've got some great topics today that I would encourage each of you to film a video about what we're talking about today. When we start to talk about inventory, this is a great way to get connected with your buyers. Inventory, we're starting to see that number tick up in month supply. So reaching out to those buyers who may have stepped out of the process within the last year, everything we're sharing today is going to be the message that you want to make sure that your buyers have. So you can download those slides, you can take them with you, you can share them, you can customize them, all kinds of great things. So as I mentioned today, trykcm.com if you are new to the deep dive, or a member area if you are a KCM member. So I'm going to go ahead and share my slides so we can go ahead and get this conversation going today. All right, so what's happening in the housing market? I told you we were going to be talking about inventory, and I'm going to be starting with 4 key trends that we're seeing right now. So let's pop the first one up on the screen. The breakdown of what we are seeing, the trends we are seeing right now, what the data is showing us is that the number of offers received on the average home sold is declining. So we're certainly seeing a shift in the market. We've been talking about this a lot lately. I'm certain that you're feeling it in your markets as well. But the number of offers received on home sold is starting to tick down. We're seeing that impact of rising mortgage rates, of inflationary pressures, of all of those things starting to soften a little bit on offers received. So we've bumped down from, we were 5.5 offers on average. That was kind of the peak, and it's down to 4.2. Now, don't get me wrong, 4.2 offers on a home sold is still very, very competitive, but we're starting to see that number soften or moderate, as you've heard us say. Second trend, we're seeing offers over asking also ticking down. So, we were at 61% of offers were over the asking price about a month ago, and it's down to 55%. Now, hang on to that for a thought. 55% of offers over asking, again, still incredibly competitive. That's more than half of the offers are over asking. So yes, we're seeing a softening, but it's not a huge decline. Just want to make sure you have that on your radar. Context is always most important for us. Third thing we're seeing, sales are starting to soften as well. Sales are declining. The pace of sales is slowing down. We're going to talk a lot about this today, but we're starting to see that moderation in sales compared to a year ago. And then the fourth one, what is all this leading to? It's leading to that increase in inventory. And this is going to be the bulk of our conversation today. That month supply is ticking up, more options on the market for your buyers. Now, I want to begin with this quote from Mark Fleming, chief economist at First American, because I really think this ties into a lot of what we're saying. He says, there has been a pickup in inventory that we've seen recently, but it's not from a big increase in new listings. Hold on to that thought. We're going to get back to that on new listings, but rather a slowdown in the pace of sales. And remember that month supply measures the inventory of sales relative to the pace of sales. Same inventory, fewer sales means more month supplies. So there's so much packed into this quote right here that what I want to do is break it down for you with a few visuals, because I think that's the best way to help explain what we're seeing on this pace of sales slowing and what that's doing to inventory. So what I want to start with here is new monthly listing count. So what we're seeing compared to last year, so 2021, that's the green bars, compared to 2022, those are the blue bars. We're seeing an increase in inventory, an increase in new listings. So more people listing their house. Now, it's not a huge tick up, but what I can tell you is 2 things jump out at me. More inventory, more new listings, as you look at those blue bars, especially from April to May of this year, and it's happening at a faster pace. So more people are listing their homes. Now, it's not, as I said, a huge tick up. We're not out of the inventory woods yet by any means, but we're seeing this trend continue. Now, the other piece of that quote that I think was really powerful is what Mark Fleming said about the pace of sales. So let's take a look at existing home sales. This is seasonally adjusted annual rate in millions. And what we're seeing today in that green bar is a slowing pace of sales. Now, where we're supposed to, as this is a projection essentially, and where we're supposed to end up the year based on the pace of sales today is 5.4 million existing homes sold by the end of the year. That's what that green bar is showing you. Now, if you compare that to the blue bars, 2020 and 2021, certainly a slower pace. Those were exceptional years. That was out of the ordinary in terms of sales the past 2 years. But if you look back for context, 2017, 2018, 2019, in those gray bars, we are moving back in the direction of those pre-pandemic years in home sales. So slower pace than where we were a year ago, but back to that pre-pandemic level. And what I always love to remind people is those were great years in real estate. You really have to put this into context. Slower than the last two that were an anomaly, but back to that direction of more pre-pandemic years. And I think, Lawrence Yun really says it very well, chief economist at NAR. Home sales have essentially returned to the levels seen in 2019, prior to the pandemic, after 2 years of gangbuster performance. So what happens as we start to see this little tick up in listings and new listings, and we also see a lower pace of sales? It means that there's more inventory for buyers. So let me break down for you what that looks like. This is active inventory, so active monthly listing counts, and it's showing that it's rising right now. That's the dark blue line down at the bottom. I want to work our way there for you so I can explain what you're seeing on the slide. If you've followed along with us before, this is definitely one that you've seen. And what it shows is those top three lines, the light blue and the light gray, 2017, 2018, 2019, those were pretty typical years in real estate where active inventory started low, started to rise as we get into, the spring, the summer, peaks around August, and then tails off towards the end of the year. I'm sure we all remember those trends. Well, the orange line is 2020. That was nothing like a typical year. We can see that we started the year out early low when it came to active listings. And then as the pandemic really took hold and, we had stay-at-home orders and people decided not to sell their homes during a pandemic, that inventory level just plummeted. You can see that orange line really tailing down. Now, 2021, real estate market's really revving up and there's a lot of competition out there. You can see the active inventory on that green line started to kind of rise, but never got up to that normal level that we saw in a pre-pandemic year. But that dark blue line, that's where I want you to draw your attention. That's what we're seeing this year. So started out at record levels of record low inventory, and active listings have started to climb, and we're just seeing them surpass where we were last year. That blue line has crossed over the green line, and we are seeing more active listings on the market. And that's due to those two things we just broke down for you, primarily an uptick in new listings and the pace of sales slowing to more of that pre-pandemic level. So more options for buyers. So let's go ahead and see what Danielle Hale, chief economist from Realtor.com, says. She says active inventory continued to grow, rising 21% over 1 year ago. That's huge news for buyers. In other words, we're starting to add more options, but the market needs even more before home shoppers have a selection that's roughly equivalent to the pre-pandemic housing market. So what does that mean? More options, no doubt, but we certainly aren't out of the woods. We are still in that seller's market where there are more buyers than there are homes available for sale. And that is really putting that pressure, continuing to put that pressure on inventory. And, we haven't seen a balanced market of inventory where there's a 6-month supply since 2012. So we've got a ways to go, but we're seeing glimpses of hope. And that's due to that softening in buyer demand that's returning to pre-pandemic levels. Now, what's ahead? I think this next visual really shows where inventory is projected to go for the rest of this year. Now, Realtor.com has updated their forecast for 2022 on inventory. They started the year, you can see that little 0.3%. They started the year projecting a 0.3% increase in inventory. But as mortgage rates have been rising, as inflationary pressures have been, all around us, they've reforecasted up to a 15% increase in inventory this year. Huge, huge message for buyers. If there's a message you want to get out there, this is definitely the one. Certainly not going to be easy to buy a home, but it's not going to be as impossible as it was because there are more choices available on the market. Now, let's wrap this morning with a quote from Mark Fleming, once more from First American. What does this all mean? It means we should start to see less competition, fewer bidding wars, and therefore less upward price pressure. We're going to talk about that in a moment. In fact, a simple analysis shows that a 1 month increase in the month supply results in a 3% decline in annualized house price growth. And our preliminary house price index is already showing moderation in house prices in April. So we're seeing and we're feeling this moderation in house prices, but we're about to see less competition, fewer bidding wars, less upward price pressure. Now, you've heard us say so many times, experts are not projecting a decline in prices. The buyer demand and the low supply simply doesn't put us in that place. So what we are seeing is that experts are still saying roughly 8.5% home price appreciation, but that's a much slower pace, a much slower increase or more moderate increase than what we've seen over the past year. So less competition, fewer bidding wars, still a continued upward tick in prices. And what does this all mean? It means that, I mentioned it a moment ago, it's still going to be very difficult to find a home. There's no doubt about that. The pressures that people are feeling right now in the housing market are different than they felt a year ago. With interest rates rising, prices rising, affordability is definitely the challenge. But with more inventory coming to the market and projected to come to the market, and the slowing in the pace of sales that we're seeing right now, that creates more options for buyers. So if there's one thing I could recommend you do, I said this right at the beginning, reach out to those buyers in your sphere who may have stepped out of the process a year ago, who may have said, you know what, I'm getting outbid, I can't get a contract, they're saying I'm out. You can say it's time to come back in because there are more options. And that's going to be the huge benefit to buyers in today's market. Great information to get out on video and to make sure they know that, yes, it's still going to be difficult, but it's not impossible. All right. Well, thank you so much. Thank you, everyone, for joining us this morning. We appreciate you being here for the deep dive. Always wonderful to start off our Monday mornings together. Thank you so much. And don't forget to next Monday is July 4th, Independence Day. So we will not have a deep dive next Monday, but we'll be back here on July 11th and we can't wait to see you then.